MacArthur. How are you doing today?
Good morning, good evening, actually, afternoon. What time is it?
Uh, yeah, I'd like to know also. Sounds like you've had a busy week, lots of activities. But before we get into that, I'd like to take a minute to welcome you to the show. I appreciate you taking your time. I know you got a lot on the plate. This is episode 2. We actually did one last week. So anybody that's watching this one, if you want to catch up on last week's activities, you can go to magalocally.com to watch the video and the video clips. Um, Also, I'd like to welcome the audience today. Thanks for tuning in. Hopefully, we're going to be able to do some live call-ins later in the near future, and that way you can ask questions directly to the senator. But okay, Senator, you ready to get started?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. So I've been watching the news. I've been watching social media, and there's been a lot of activity at the Capitol. I understand that there was a rally or a protest in support of the Freedom Caucus. How did that go? That was Tuesday. I think there's hundreds of people that showed up. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Yeah, so I honestly don't even know who put it together, but it was a notice that kind of went out to all the grassroots and the communities around the state. We ended up, I think, with about 300 to 400 people here. Somebody said that they had cards for 300 people to fill out, and they ran out of those cards. So, 300 to 400 people that showed up
On a
outside of,
Tuesday.
yes,
And that's hard to get people on a Tuesday to show up. Yeah.
for work. So yes, so it was a great as I mean, it's always great to have people at the Capitol that you feel like are paying attention, they're invested, they're willing to give their time, talent, and treasure to show up. It means more than the average person knows. So
Oh yeah, I'm sure. My wife and I, we went to on January 6th, we went to Washington D.C. and attended the pro Trump rally, and we were there for 3 days. And I heard uh, there's just groups of, I'd say, hundreds of thousands of people, and there were speakers throughout different sections along that area, the round surrounding the White House. People were praying. Most of it was just, it almost felt like a worship service to me when I got there. They were singing Amazing Grace, How Great Thou Art, all patriotic songs, hugging, no violence whatsoever through the 3 days that I was there. And we all, of course, have seen what's been put on the media. But, I would like to almost compare that a little bit to what's going on at Jefferson City, because that million people showing up in January 6th is because the everyday people were getting sick and tired of what's going on in the old process of doing things, the old good old boy system. So I think here in Missouri, a lot of the reason the Freedom Caucus was even stood up is because the grassroots people like us are saying, we've had enough. We're tired of being sold out by special interest groups. We're tired of the old good old boy system. So I'd like to show a clip, and I'm not sure, it was Missouri Freedom Group or something like that actually posted on their Facebook. So I'm going to show this clip for a second and just get your thoughts on it. Senator, before I have you speak, I have one more clip here that I'd like to let you look at and talk about here.
Is we have in front of us a challenge. You know that this rhino issue is in so many ways worse than what I call them the Communist Socialist Party. There are no more Democrats. In the elected class especially, there are no more Democrats. They have blended communism and socialism together, and they are the Communist Socialist Party. They are not a pro-America political party. Evidence is we have in front of us a challenge.
Okay, Senator Carter. Were you able to see that or at least hear it?
Yeah, I heard it. Thank you.
And I know you were there, so you saw it firsthand. And I saw a clip where you were speaking to the people. Uh, what can you just tell me what the feeling was, what the mood was at that crowd?
So that I was there for the song because we had that in closing, but I wasn't there for that speech that was given. So
Okay,
I really can't speak to that. We kind of stumbled on after we had gotten out of session. You know, people had already been here, and so we just kind of stumbled onto the group as we came out. But no, the attitude and the atmosphere honestly is what we've been seeing is people are just looking for a safe place to land with the ideals of a pro-America stance. And I keep preaching that up here behind, in these backdoor meetings to say at some point we have to start validating the reality of where we are and start speaking to the concerns of the average person who's just trying to pay their bills and take care of their family. And
right.
so that's the quandary, right, that we're all in. If you don't say anything and we continue down the status quo, then I feel like you're not contributing to the solutions. And so, yeah, that's kind of where we're at.
So I understand the status quo, and usually grassroots um, efforts are that's really from a representative standpoint, that's what you want. You want the grassroots to tell you what they want, what they're disappointed in, and then so you can listen to them and then take those discussions to the floor, to the legislation, to the legislative body, and try to get something done that favors your district. And you're in District 32,
Right.
which encompasses Joplin, Neosho, surrounding area. So what's good maybe for Southeast Missouri, where they want to do gambling or approve betting, that might not be what's great for District 32.
Right. Right.
So
And we oftentimes have push pulls in the building. There definitely is this urban rural divide, so to speak,
right.
that we're trying to build a bridge and make sure that those interests and those needs are met on both spectrums. But yeah, it's a real challenge.
So when I talk about grassroots and we the people feeling like our representatives are listening to us, that's very important, because if we feel you're not listening to us, then we get frustrated. And then that's where you actually start seeing, especially on the radical left, you see riots, you see violence take place. So at some point, when you send somebody to office, we the people feel like we should be listened to. So I'm so happy that, first of all, the Freedom Caucus was formed, because I think that represents, especially in District 32 in this area, the conservative base much more so than the guys that's been up there for 10, 15, I don't know, however long, and making these shady deals. I don't even want to say shady, but deals that aren't in the best interest for conservative voters. And so I'm going to show a video clip of Senator Cindy O'Laughlin, which is the majority leader. Is that correct?
Yes. Yes.
And the reason because I've watched, she has a YouTube channel up of her own where she puts up information, but this one was actually filmed during a press conference there, I think, at the Capitol, and she talked, well, I'll just let you see it.
Vernon County, St. Charles County, Boone County sent letters. Obviously, you have already said you're not going to resign. What do you think what's your reaction to the message that's coming from those grassroots organizations?
You don't understand what's going on inside this building.
She said, you don't understand what's going on inside this building as we, the citizens.
Okay.
For people from committee folks done to try and freeze stuff up, because there are some members of the Freedom Caucus that actually benefited from some of the Ben Brown got committee.
He's not a member.
Okay.
So he got out at the end of the year last year, And truly, they have gone into his district and tried to destroy him. That's how they do.
And Joe Carter doesn't, I mean, was the message to some of them, you can play ball or you can walk from parking spots far away?
That's a message to all of them. If you're a chairman, you have extra money in your budget to do, whatever it is you have to do, because there is extra work. 2 years ago,
Okay, Senator, I know the audio on that wasn't really great, but she basically got in front of everybody and said they're going to use, they stripped the chairmanships from Senator Bill Eigel and others. And they said they stripped the parking spots, took the parking spots, and they said they're going to use that as a tactic and a tool to make you submit. And they actually, the guy asked your name specifically, Senator Jill Carter. So do you see that there's any way to come together, or has the divide been set so far that there's no resolution in the near future?
So we were able, I'm always confident and hopeful that there's a way to come together. That's the aim I'm always going to go towards. Nobody wants civil discord. Nobody wants, people to be upset. But here's the reality of how I feel about it. There already is discourse. Discord. There needs to be more discourse. And the only thing that really is holding, like I said, I make this case all the time, the people outside the building need to know that they're being heard. And that some things are the number one priorities. And when you leverage an elected official to not use their voice for some of those things, then what happens is you're forcing the hand of burning it down, so to speak, a populist movement, which is not what we want. I mean, if I were the leader, and I keep going back to, and I'm not casting stones at all, I'm just saying from my perspective, this is what's beautiful about America. The beauty of it is that we don't have to always get along, and we don't have to always agree necessarily on procedure, or the process, but we should agree on the policy because we're all wearing the same brand. And so can we have deliberation and debate that's authentic and real and represents the real plight or the plea of the people at home, the average person at home, and do it with some integrity and transparency to where everybody's their pride is put aside, and then
their ego. A lot of it's ego.
Yes, and then we're able to do this actually the average person. And so that's the big question. I mean, we had this conversation in leadership's office before committee chairmanships were stripped, and I just you're creating victims where there need not be any. You're to strip or penalize somebody for trying to represent their district is obviously
that's not good business.
No,
that's not good business.
And then your bills won't get heard. You're not going to be able to pass things.
Right.
Yeah, it's.
I didn't play the rest of that, and I didn't. There's another video out there that has Senator O'Loughlin on tape saying that she is trying to remove him from the Senate altogether. So when I hear things like that, that reminds me of Hitler, Stalin. I mean, the tyrants that don't want to hear your side of the story, so it's better just to remove them so the people can't hear your side of the story. And that's never good in a republic.
Right. And so that's what I say. Well, there needs to be more transparency, not less. There needs to be more open debate, less. And to be transparent with you and everyone who's listening, I don't know. I don't have all the answers. What I do know is that if we don't start doing something different, then I mean, chaos will ensue.
Oh yeah, and I think it's going to ensue more so from the constituents in Missouri, because I mean, after you see 300, 400, 500 people show up at a rally in support of the Freedom Caucus and in showing their displeasure in the rhino politics, the actual Republican leadership, that I think it's just going to even grow and grow and grow. So I think the leadership really needs to pay attention. And I heard Senator Rowden on audio say, "I have more friends than you do," to Senator Eigel. And I just thought, the pompous, the ego that was in a statement like that, you might have more friends within those halls, within that beautiful building in Jefferson City, but that doesn't mean you have more friends in the grassroots, the blue collar worker, the people out here struggling to pay their electric bill. When you make statements like that, I think he ought to be very careful when he runs for, was it Secretary of State he's getting ready to run for?
Yes.
Those type of comments don't fare well with the hardworking Missourians, to be honest with you.
So my intention, right, is to say, okay, here's the reality of where we're at. This is how things
Right.
have for decades. I mean, it's in part why I ran, right? So here's the reality of where we're at. And you're trying to connect people with, okay, look, here's a vision of how it can be. But how we get there is critical, because
Right.
you don't want people feeling like they have to pick up pitchforks. That's not the answer. And so to try to lead with, like I said, to lead with more transparency, authenticity, to try to curb that anger is on all sides. And so you're just, it's
They always say, politics is very dirty, a dirty business, or a difficult business at least.
well, I think it's very business. If you don't
And
care, it's very easy.
yeah,
Yeah. But if you do care, then
and that leads. Yeah, and that brings me back to her comment where she says she asked, you just don't know what's going on in here. When that reporter asked her, what about the grassroots? What's your message to the grassroots people? And she basically flat out looked at camera and said, well, you just don't know what's going on in here. And I think that's a lot of the problem. We do not know what's going on there. There's no transparency. I mean, it's almost like they have their hidden, at least in Washington, D.C., you have reporters there every day. They're covering every little thing. But a lot of times nobody knows what's going on inside their own state capitol at a state level. And that's why one of the reasons I wanted to start this podcast was to try to bring out some of those things that are happening throughout the week, so the people can feel more connected and they can get involved and they know what the issues are. So, I mean, this whole filibuster and the whole issues between the leadership and the Freedom Caucus, really, it was kind of ignited under IP reform, the initiative petition reform. Is that correct?
right. And that was, it's an issue that has been stated as a party platform priority for 60
Which
years.
is the Republican Party leadership say that's our number one priority for years, but yet it never gets passed. And there's got to be a reasoning when you have the majority and a supermajority.
Right. And so here's what's at risk with IP reform. I mean, we get ranked choice voting now that they're gathering signatures for. You've got the abortion up to birth now, that's an initiative.
Right.
You've got your Second Amendment rights being eroded away through the initiative petition process. And so again, like, we have a problem, and to continue to act like, well, let's just not make it a number one priority and get things done. That's my pause and reservation, is we cannot continue. I cannot be silent in the face of these kinds of threats to our state constitution without standing up and saying, wait a minute, as Republicans, is this not all something that we agree on? And if we don't agree on procedure on how to get there, then how do we get together and determine what this path forward looks like?
Right.
You're kind of forced to go to the floor just to have a transparent conversation about governance. Like, what is it that we're doing? So
Right. Absolutely. I just got a little bit more on the happenings for this week. I've seen letters fly out from like the caucuses throughout the Missouri, like the Republican Party, from Boone County, Senator Eagles County. And there was some strong language in those letters that basically said, they do not approve of the Republican leadership's actions on removing the chairmanships, and that they voiced support for the Freedom Caucus. However, and you don't have to answer this because I don't want to put you on the spot, but I looked at Jasper County's letter and memo and their stance on this situation. And to be honest with you, I felt it was like political, let's walk the fence and let's don't really show support either way. They did not say, they didn't condone the Freedom Caucus. They didn't say, hey, we're not happy with the Senate leadership on not being able to pass these important issues, and we don't like them removing, Freedom Caucus members from chairmanships or removing their parking spots. And I'd challenge anybody that'd like to read it, get on the Jasper County. Well, I think what is it, the Jasper County Republican something on Facebook, County Republicans.
It is,
but
yeah.
Have you read that letter? Have you read their statement?
I did read their statement, and then I was approached by the Joplin Globe to make a statement as well in regards to it.
Okay.
That's I try to stay somewhat neutral in the fact that they're the central committee. That's not my jurisdiction. My responsibility, the weight that I feel and the responsibility I feel is to try to convey what's actually going on up here. With this, again, I always worry about being honest and transparent, because what I'm looking for is, one of my favorite quotes is, what is knowledge but the slow unwinding of our blindness? And if I've got something wrong, I'm looking for somebody to check me. And so the transparency that I'm looking for, the reason why I'm so obsessed about being transparent is because if you're hearing something else, I want you to feel free to come to me and ask the question or to check me, because that's how we navigate this, with integrity. And so if there's a failure on my part to understand a portion of it that I'm contributing to some kind of a chaos, or I'm contributing to something that isn't positive, then I want to be corrected. But at the same time, I want you to have enough information to be able to say, wow, okay, this is what's going on, and this is the information that we're missing this information as well. So we're all trying to navigate this governance thing that we have, a government of the people. And so that was my concern with them, is just, here's what's going on. I went and spoke to the Central Committee on Thursday night, talked about what was going on a little bit, and if that's how they feel like they need to respond, then I respect that.
Okay. I understand. So was there anything, other fireworks that happened this week that didn't make the news and that we weren't privy to seeing that you know of?
No, it was honestly, yesterday was, after filibustering all night, I think we were done by 9 or 10 o'clock. It was still a full day. I went home for just a little bit, and then we were able to have our meetings. We had our committee meetings like always. And then today was a fairly slow day. So it's almost like, okay, it's a good feeling, because everybody was kind of able to come together afterwards and be like, okay, we actually did something good that we can all be proud of. And we've got, I think the handler of the bill is walking around asking for co-sponsors from everybody. And so hopefully we're able to just move forward now and make sure that this is something that the integrity of the language stays intact. That's the only other pause, right? It doesn't turn into something that isn't a good product.
Absolutely. So do you think the filibuster and this, the heated discussion that's been taking place, do you think it's actually maybe advancing? It's showing the leadership, hey, we mean business. We're serious. The Missouri people are serious. They showed up with 400 or 500 people here. They want IP reform passed, and they want it passed where it benefits the Missouri citizens. So do you have any indicator of Are you seeing any movement on IP reform? Do you feel like it's heading in the right direction?
It brought to all of the things that needed to happen. We got all the gubernatorials appointments. It was a really good couple of days. We got all of the gubernatorials after that, and all night filibuster. All of the gubernatorial appointments have been released and voted on. And that's, everybody wanted that. And we were able to get IP heard, exec out of committee, and referred to on the calendar. So it'll be brought to
Awesome.
So, for whatever reason, I'm not going to sit here and say there's some chatter that we would have gotten here anyway, without the filibuster. Right. All I know is the end result product is we're at a good place right now for today. And that's what I'm grateful for. So having that contrast to last year, and even language going into some of the chatter that we heard before our session was we would wait toward the end of session to pass it. That's what we were all going on, is that we can't afford to wait till the end of session.
Right.
That was the pressure and the stuff on the floor that we utilized to try to make it come to the floor sooner.
And from us in the cheap seats, back at home working, we actually are looking at things saying, I think this needed to happen. I think the leadership needed a wake up call. I'm not calling they're bad people at all, but I think sometimes their priorities have been shifted. And, I think sometimes special interest groups and the big business tends to bend the ear more so than us common folk that are working hard every day. And in your district, I know there's a lot of people here that they want to know what's going on, and they're so happy that you're there. I'm happy that you're there. And we appreciate you at least giving us this insight and feeding back your perspective on things. And we do appreciate it.
I had somebody come up yesterday actually, from our district with a group, and we were visiting, and I have with my history of coming up here for so long, almost over a decade prior to running, it is so ingrained, and maybe that's what needed to happen, for me to be able to feel the way that I do. But I have it so ingrained into my body about what it feels like to try to move good things and have nothing ever happen.
Yeah, run into a brick wall every time you try to do something.
Yeah. It's like, this is not a heavy lift. Like, it's common sense. It shouldn't be so difficult. And so I was telling, they paid a compliment, and I just said, the day that you sense that what you have to say to me is less important than someone else, and that I have the air of patting you on the head and telling you everything's okay, when in reality you feel that it isn't, is the time that you need to find somebody else to sit in this position. Like, I'm only here temporary, I feel like this is just a stewardship for me right now, and eventually somebody else will be here. And what my goal is to hit the bar high enough for myself and for you guys that what good representation hopefully looks like, and that I'm modeling that, so that whoever comes up in place of me has that. You're able to have that connection with them as well. That standard has been set. And then if I ever make you feel like you don't know what you're talking about, or stop being so worried, or just go home, you don't know what's going on, I have to find somebody else to sit here. So,
in conclusion, I know you're busy and you got a long drive back home to District 32. I just want to show the audience, I pulled up the scorecard, the infamous scorecard for conservative Republicans. And I didn't pull yours up because I could only fit 3 on there. But since the battle, I know it's been between the Freedom Caucus and the leadership, but, Senator Rowden, Senator O'Laughlin, and Senator Eigel, I would almost pay tickets to watch some of the back and forth. It's almost like an MMA contest, right? I'm saying that. Right. So I'm going to pull up this scorecard, and I want the audience to be able to see, in the terms of who's voting conservative on certain issues and who's voting with the Democrats on the majority of these issues. So give me just a second as I pull this up. All right. Can you see that?
I can.
Okay. So on the screen, I have a lawmaker comparison. I have Senator Cindy O'Laughlin, and then I have Senator Caleb Rowden and Senator Bill Eigel. And if you look at their overall scores, I mean, for me as a conservative, I look at Cindy O'Loughlin with 73%, Senator Rowden with 64%, and then Senator Bill Eigel with 100%. So if I'm wanting to send a representative that represents my conservative values, I'm not going to go with 64%. And I know he's been in, both Senator Eigel and Senator Rowden's been there for quite a while. And to be honest, I pulled yours up as well. I just can't get the fourth one on there. But you were at 91%. Are you tracking that?
Yep.
So, and for the audience to kind of go through some of the things that they're tracking, you can go over to the left side and look at the different bills and determine if they voted with the Democrats or with the conservatives, and all these different bills. And I know some of them are nuanced. There's little things that, that were maybe thrown into the bill that maybe weren't aware of. But I just think it's good for the audience to at least know, if you're in Joplin, Missouri, and you want to know how your district from your representative from District 32 is doing, you can pull up on here. And then if you want to look at your leadership that's actually holding bills hostage or allowing those bills to go to the floor, which is that's the position of Senator O'Loughlin. She really is the one who kind of determines whether it goes to the floor. Is that correct?
Well, so there's a lot of steps that have to take. She kind of is the director of what goes on the floor when she schedules them, but the bills. It's a really interesting process where they have to be second read twice on the floor, and then our pro tem is the one who sends the bill to a committee, and that bill then you have to get a hearing by the chair of that committee. And when you get a hearing, you have to get it to a vote in committee. And then when you get a vote in committee, then it has to be exec out of committee or called out by the pro tem again. And then it's back in the majority leader's hands. So there's a lot of steps that happen or occur where there could be a lot of influence prior to them getting back, getting to her. And the pro tem usually is the one who has a lot of influence over that process.
Okay. Well, I appreciate you letting us know the steps, because it seems like a complicated process. So that's why I guess if it was easy, I guess everybody would be doing it, right?
Yeah. No, it's a little bit trickier than just having them come to the floor, but yeah. So a lot of it, like I said, can be taught. It can be very influenced. I mean, you go and you petition, you ask for hearings, and if the chair of that committee does not want to hear your bill or has been told by leadership not to bring it, or they have lobbyists telling them not to bring the bill forward, then it never moves. And the majority leader doesn't have anything like that. In all fairness.
Hey, I know you have a long drive back to your home, so I don't want to waste any more of your time. And I appreciate you being so graceful with giving us your time. And I know the District 32, they appreciate your time and they appreciate what you're doing. Is there anything that you'd like to discuss before we close?
No, I think, again, just the successes of the week. Really a good place. I'm so glad to get the gubernatorial's appointments done. I've met with Dean Van Galen from MSSU. There was a board appointee on there for that. We were able to let that all go. So glad for that. And so there were some wins amongst all the strife, right? I feel like we're in a really, so that was the hope all along. And so we're going to continue to maintain that progress while at the same time trying to keep the pedal to the metal and navigate this the best that we can together. So
what do you see on the horizon for next week? Do you see anything as far as in legislative session?
So we have IP. Obviously, it's going to be coming to the floor, I think, next Wednesday. So there'll be a debate.
Okay.
That probably will get a little heated, simply because now you have, the other side weighing in on initiative petition reform. So
Right.
Yeah, how that goes. I've got an election integrity bill being heard Monday, and then Wednesday we have our sludge bill being heard as well. So those are next week is a really busy week. Yeah, very excited about that though for the progress of our community.
for all of our audience that's listening, you can get on the Senate chamber audio and they
Yes.
can listen as you guys speak on the floor. You can't see anything because they won't allow video. And so if you're listening and you want to listen for District 32 senator, you have to either listen for Newton County or the senator from District 32 because they won't say your name during the
They're this old. Yeah, it's a very it's kind of the old.
English.
And so usually they'll say, if I stand to speak, they'll say, senator from the 32nd is what they'll refer me to as. But
And then Senator Eigels from the 23rd. Is that correct?
yep.
Okay.
So you could sometimes have to pull up the chart, and we on our desk we have a, so we know how to refer to everybody. So yeah, sometimes you just go to the Senate website and pull up who's from what district, and it kind of helps you to know who's talking with.
So as we close, for anybody that wants to follow you on social media or find out more information about the bills that you have upcoming, can you give us your social media links? Or
so it's Facebook, Jill for. Actually, Facebook is Jill for Senate number 32.
Okay.
And we also have a cell phone number a number where everybody can text if you want. And then I try to send out group texts to everybody if there's something prominently going on that I want everybody to know about. And so it sends out a group text, but then if you respond back, I'm only the only one that gets it. And so that number is 417-216-6077. And so we'll occasionally send something out to just let you guys know what's going on if it's an issue that I feel like is important for you.
I've never heard a senator give out their cell phone number.
Yeah, no, I'm not always quick to respond to every text, but I do try to do it.
Awesome. And I understand that you have an event coming up March 15th.
Yeah, so excited about that.
Tell us? Yeah. I think we're going to try to get, I homeschool my kids. So anytime we can get a chance to, get them involved in governance to understand how the system works, I definitely try to do that. So tell us a little bit about that, and then we'll wrap this thing up so you can get home, see your family.
That's March 15th. We're calling it a night for the people. We did this last year. We're just building on that momentum. We have Congressman Burleson that's going to be there. We've got a man from the American Experience Museum that has a partnership with Mercury One Radio down in Dallas. I went down and visited there, and oh my gosh, just phenomenal, the history. It just makes you feel good about being an American again. He's coming up to speak. And then we have Aaron Dorr with the Missouri Firearms Coalition, who's just also a force to be reckoned with. He's one of my top 5 favorite people in the state of Missouri, and he's actually living in Missouri now, so we're so glad to have him. He's going to be talking about where we are with our SAPA rights, our Second Amendment rights, and with this IP reform, and also SAPA being challenged in court. He'll be talking a little bit about that, but we're going to be doing awards for some of the community members. It's just trying to give back to the people to help them feel like they're recognized, and just we're celebrating our community. So
awesome. And I understand there's going to be dinner provided. It's buffet style, so we got to watch people like me going through the buffet though, so you got to be careful. And then so there's buffet, there's food. There's going to be some great inspiring speakers. I listened to that Elijah O'Neill on YouTube, and wow, I was ready to go run for office myself after listening to that guy. So I think, he's amazing. And then, of course, Aaron Dorr is a great speaker. And I know there's going to be a raffle. So it's going to be a fun night. It's designed for you, if the constituents have questions from you, that they can engage you. And this is the best way to do it, face to face, right?
Right. No, I really feel like we're at a time in our country where you have got to know more than ever before who it is that is representing you, down to kind of a really intrinsic level. You really need to know the character of the people that you associate with, and there should be an open door policy as much as possible. And so that's what we're trying to do is to bring you guys all on board. It's easier, to get all together sometimes than it is to individually meet. And so I'm hoping to just facilitate more of these. We'll try to do one in the fall as well, so twice a year.
About one a quarter, right?
Yeah. Well, we'll
Something
do
like
little
that.
greets, but as far as the some big things, we're trying to do those twice a year. So
I understand you have a representative here in District 32, Reggie.
yes,
Is
oh
that
my God,
correct?
yes, Reggie Powers.
Right.
Name fits his personality, and he's just an amazing person. I'm so grateful. Anybody who knows Reggie, which I know a lot of people already do, he's just an excellent person. So
I know why you're in session, I think up until end of May, correct?
middle of May, yes.
So Reggie, what's his last name?
Powers.
Powers. So Reggie Powers is in District 32. So if people are needing to, get in contact with you or, have issues resolved when you're in session in Jeff City, they can call him or email him and he can get that front and center to you in a timely manner, whatever those issues are. Is that
Yeah.
correct?
Field rep for the district while I'm out of town. His email is reggie@jillforsenate.com. And
Okay.
he's Johnny on the spot. Awesome guy. So blessed to have him.
Well, maybe we can have him on one of the shows, on the upcoming shows. That way you can introduce him. People can see his face. They know how to get a hold of him, that kind of thing.
That'd be great. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Senator Carter, thank you so much for your time. Hey, keep up the fight. We love what you're doing up there. So we appreciate you. And, just stay on the compass that you set, and we got your back.
Appreciate it. Thanks, guys.
Okay. Thank you. Bye-bye.